A few months ago, I released a video talking about whether you can get arrested in Indonesia for dating Indonesian girls. And in this video, I was talking about the new criminal code, which was passed in 2022, banning sex outside of marriage in Indonesia. And at this time, there was a big brouhaha, especially by the media. You probably have seen these reports, these news reports and blog posts and stuff. So I did this video last year to clarify a few things. So since we are right now in 2025, the year where this new criminal code came into effect, I believe it is already in effect since January 2025. I thought I will make an update video to clarify once and forever what is really the matter with this new amended criminal code, because it caused great confusion, especially among foreigners, foreign tourists, expats, And this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. The question is still, maybe for some people, are foreign couples affected by this new law? Let's call it a new law, okay? Are foreign couples affected if they are not married? Let's say German boyfriend, German girlfriend, they are traveling to Indonesia. Can they have sex? That's the question. But probably even more important for some Western guys is the question, can you have sex with a single Indonesian woman in Indonesia? Is that possible, or is it now banned? Is it prohibited? Yeah. Things like that we are going to talk about in this video, and I will try to answer these questions and also clarify them, that once and forever we sorted that out. So I have some notes here, and I will also read from articles I have researched, articles written by different people. There's even an Australian lawyer who wrote a blog post. So I will quote from these different articles and blog posts. And I will also link all these articles in the description, so you can look these articles up for yourself and then read them through to get more clarification if you need. So before I start with reading certain sections here, because I find it is necessary to really clarify, I just want to mention that this new law, which has been implemented now in 2025, has been implemented, applies to locals and foreigners alike. But this law will not be enforced on foreigners. This is already what I can tell you, but we will discuss this later. So the outlawing of premarital sex in Indonesia also applies to foreigners. This is what we can already establish here. So now, in general, I just want to give you some information here, and I will read now from one of these articles. Quote, sex outside of marriage has been illegal in Indonesia for decades. However, it was the case that charges could only be brought by an aggrieved spouse in the case of an affair. The law has been largely unenforced in Bali/Indonesia and in other liberal areas of Indonesia. Yeah. this is what I can also confirm from my own experience. Based on my own experience, I have never experienced such incidents that foreigners were prosecuted for these kind of charges. It never happened to me personally. It never happened to anybody, not that I know. And I have lived and worked in Indonesia for quite some while, for many years actually, and traveled the country extensively. So this just to set the table here. Apparently it has been illegal. Now, I will explain the new criminal code a little bit and will also read from an article here. Quote, "The newly enacted criminal code that bans sexual intercourse outside of marriage regulates extramarital sex, which can be prosecuted only on request." And this is very important. It can be prosecuted only on request, and what it means, I will explain to you. Extramarital sex or adultery is a category of offense that cannot be prosecuted without a complaint by a member or members of the nuclear family, which includes husband or wife and or parents or children. Only the husband or the wife of the so-called victim can make a complaint against adultery. If the victim is unmarried or a widow, the right to make the complaint is reserved for the parents or the children. So there will be no legal process without complaints from the rightful party who is directly harmed. Yeah? Only husband, wife, the parents or the children can make a complaint. This is very important to understand. In contrast to Article 284 Criminal Code, which required the criminal act of adultery to be committed by married men and women, the new criminal code allows unmarried men and women to be charged with adultery. And this is the actual amendment. That also now, starting this year, unmarried men and women in Indonesia can be charged with adultery. According to Article 411, Law 1/2023, adultery or sexual intercourse which is committed by persons who are not their husbands or wives are liable to a maximum of 1 year in prison or a maximum of Indonesian rupiah 10 million in fines. Yeah? So now I want to clarify what that means. Not their husbands and wife. What does it mean? When are you not a husband or a wife? And it goes on, quote, "Not their husband or wife means a man who is in a marriage bond has sexual intercourse with a woman who is not his wife. Second, a woman who is in a marriage bond has sexual intercourse with a man who is not her husband." I think that's pretty clear and straightforward. Next, a man who is not in a marriage bond has sexual intercourse with a woman even though it is known that the woman is in a marriage bond. A woman who is not in a marriage bond has sexual intercourse with a man even though it is known that the man is in a marriage bond. Or, very important now, a man and a woman who are not bound by marriage and they have sexual intercourse. And this is very important to understand, and I will elaborate on this a little bit further. A man and a woman who are not bound by marriage also actually can be prosecuted if they have sexual intercourse. The specific, I'm continue quoting here, the specific article is meant to assert respect for the marriage institution and its values without violating the private space for the public, including visiting tourists and investors. Yeah? They say that they don't want to bother tourists and foreign investors. The new criminal code says nothing about administrative requirements for foreign visitors to reveal their marital status. This is also important to note. And even the Bali governor in 2022 stated the following, quote, "Bali is Bali as usual, which is comfortable and safe to be visited," said Bali Governor Wayan Koster at the time in 2022. I'm not sure if he's still the governor now. But he also said, visitors will not be required to prove their marital status when checking into accommodation, and local officials will not carry out checks. Yeah, very important. That came out of the mouth of the Bali governor. And Indonesia's Deputy Justice Minister said that, or promised that foreigners would not be prosecuted. So that means foreigners, married or not married, can engage in sexual activities in Indonesia. Yeah? Because you don't have to reveal your marital status upon entering the country or upon checking into the hotel. This is how it is. This is how I understand it. And this is also how the governor is actually confirming this here. So I want to give you here some general information and how things regarding this matter are actually seen inside of Indonesia. I'm reading again from an article here. Quote, "Sex between men and women is basically legal if it is carried out within the scope of marriage institutions. In addition, marriage is permitted for both men and women who have reached the age of 19 years. Thus, premarital sex with a partner is of course contrary to the moral values that are held in society, Indonesian society. Therefore, it should be avoided because it could cause inner peace issues and health issues as well." This is what it says here. Now I want to come back to this statement earlier, saying according to article so-and-so that adultery or sexual intercourse which is committed by persons who are not their husbands and wives. I want to elaborate a little bit further. So not their husbands or wives also means a man, according to what I have read earlier, a man and a woman who are not bound by marriage if they have sexual intercourse. So that actually can mean a foreigner, a single foreigner, perhaps a Western guy, is hooking up with an Indonesian single girl. Yeah. So when you are hooking up as a single foreigner with a single Indonesian woman, this is basically nothing else than a man and a woman getting together who are not bound by marriage. So actually you cannot do it. It's prohibited by law. You cannot hook up with a single Indonesian girl as a single foreigner. Yeah. But I want to read from another article here. Therefore, quote, "Therefore, there are only a few scenarios where foreign tourists in Bali / Indonesia could get themselves in hot water. The most likely situation would be where a foreigner hooks up with or gets into a relationship with or starts living with an Indonesian person. If a close family member, such as a parent or sibling, disapproves and reports the couple to the police, an investigation may be launched and charges made. So that means, again, coming back to the scenario, let's say a foreigner, single guy, single tourist from the Netherlands travels to Bali or any other place in Indonesia, meets a, let's say, Indonesian woman, single woman, and he engages with her. If her parents find out and don't like this, they can report this case, yeah, technically. And then, yeah, maybe you get in trouble, yeah. Pretty sure, probably. Who knows? This is how it is. So, if she is a single mom, if this girl would be a single mom already, and her kid is already, let's say, 16 years old, and also finds out this, her son, for example, also could report this to the police. Yeah? And then an investigation may be launched. Okay? Of course, the authorities would look into each individual case, but this is the thing. So, question: can you have sex as a single foreign guy with an Indonesian woman? Is that okay? Let's say what an Australian defense lawyer actually says about this, who also investigated this matter. And let's look at his interpretation of this whole thing. He says, quote, if a tourist is in breach of these laws in Bali/Indonesia, for example, has consensual sex with an Indonesian national, the tourist can be arrested and imprisoned if it was reported to police by the Indonesian's spouse, child, or parent. So the Australian defense lawyer here says the same thing. And again, he also makes it very clear, but it must be reported by either the spouse, child, or parent only. Yeah, and I want to emphasize on that again. Only spouse, either husband, wife, the parents, or the children of the affected person can make a report, can file a report to the authorities. Not a hotel owner, no housekeeping staff, no waiters, waitresses, or hotel technicians. Not even her best friend can report this, okay? So you check into a hotel in Indonesia and you bring a girl to your room, an Indonesian girl to your room, let's say. Everything is happening with consent, of course, and you have sex with her in her room, then nobody can report this to the police. It would not be accepted, because even the front office staff, they could not report it, because it would not be accepted according to this law here, right? Because a front office manager, front office guy is not a spouse or a parent or a children, right? So that's the scenario, yeah? Very important to understand. They cannot, not even her best friend, can do anything. These are the facts. Yeah, maybe having sexual intercourse with a single Indonesian woman or even a married Indonesian woman is illegal according to the law. I personally never engaged with married Indonesian women, yeah, but all I can say, the girls I engaged with in Indonesia, I never had any problems. And also, as long no one charges you or files any charges, nothing will be happening anyway. Because who can prove it anyway? Yeah, Because if you are inside a room with a woman and you have some fun, let's say, who is gonna be there with you? Nobody else except this woman and you. Yeah. So there are no witnesses anyway, and if there are no witnesses, nobody can report anything anyway. Yeah. And I don't think that her mother or her father will be beside the bed and watching the whole thing. Yeah, what's going on in the hotel room. So, yeah. Again, I want to repeat this here again. Visitors will not be required to prove their marital status when checking into accommodation. Nobody will ask you if you're married or not. Yeah, and with that already it is ruled out. Yeah, that you get in any trouble in Indonesia as a foreigner, because if nobody knows whether you're married or not, how can they prove anything, right? So this whole thing is also due to an increase in religious conservatism in Indonesia. And I also have a list of countries here like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Morocco, Malaysia, and Pakistan, who have similar laws in place. Yeah, and they are all Muslim countries. Yeah. So you see there is a connection. So one has to respect that Indonesia is a Muslim country, increased religious conservatism. So this is just how it goes. It was different maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. But yeah, so my advice is to use your common sense when inside of Indonesia. And I also want to read you actually, also quoting from an article, what Indonesian people actually think of this new law, this new amended criminal code. Because these Indonesian people inside of Indonesia also have a strong opinion. And I'm quoting here, in 2019, a similar bill was composed, and Parliament had plans to ratify the new code. However, President Jokowi, at the time the president, advised Parliament to postpone a vote due to the nationwide protests and public criticism. There you see how Indonesian people think about this amended criminal code. Not everybody was happy about it, and certainly is not happy today. I'm not only talking about tourist areas like Bali or other places, but nationwide protests and public criticism inside of Indonesia. Yeah. So, but anyway, they pushed the law through. Also want to give you some trivia here. I found it's very funny. So this amended criminal code also was passed with other amendments. For example, also now black magic is criminalized in Indonesia, and also to be associated with organizations that follow Marxist-Leninist ideology, yeah, will be punished severely now in Indonesia. So these kind of things and other funny and interesting amendments have been made. So my conclusion here, my take and my advice, this law, this new law, is actually just an amendment to include also non-married men and women to be charged with adultery now. That's the only change, okay? Before it was only married men and women could be charged, but now also the other person who is involved, the not married man and woman, can also be charged. And that's basically it. And I know Indonesia very well. Again, use your common sense, stick to the customs, don't brag, don't show off. All the things I talked in previous videos recently. Also, no one ever reported me, as I mentioned before, to any of the authorities in Indonesia. no girls, no parents, no friends, no relatives, no children, no nothing. Also, never ever had a girl, an Indonesian girl I was engaged with, hinted at me or said to me or informed me that having sex with her will be punishable. Yeah? I never experienced that. Yeah? Why is that? If it is actually punishable or illegal, why the girls never informed me about that? Did they know about it, or is it just maybe not true? You know, maybe it's just too much brouhaha about this whole thing. But I can tell you, I never had any discussions about this. Yeah. So no Indonesian girl ever told me before we engaged in the act that I have to be careful because here in Indonesia, you know, you cannot do it, it's illegal, this, that. No, nothing. If it would have been illegal to do that, this Indonesian woman would not have engaged in it, right? So anyway, also you can meet Indonesian women, of course, in public. You can have a coffee together in public, you can walk around, you can go hiking, you can go traveling, you can go with her to the beach and enjoy, and you can hang around with her, hang out with her, you can have all kinds of joys and funs, yeah? You can dance together, you can sing together, anything you can do with women in your home country as a Westerner, you can also do with Indonesian women. You can meet a single Indonesian woman, you can meet them in groups, you can enjoy in public, you can go to the cinema, whatever, okay? And also speaking about adultery cases in Indonesia, so all I want to say is I worked in Indonesia for quite some time, and 100% of my staff were Indonesian fellas, and many of them were male staff, and most of them were married. And I know what some of these men were up to in their free time when their wives were at home, and and these guys, my colleagues, were somewhere else enjoying with some other ladies, you know. That's all I want to say. This is the reality in Indonesia. The Indonesian men, I know the Indonesian women don't want to hear it, but they know. They are not stupid. And I know it firsthand. I knew how some of my Indonesian male staff, younger guys, middle-aged guys, older guys, had affairs on the side, even they were married. So that's also adultery, right? Did anything ever happen to my employees, my staff? No, nothing. They never got arrested or charged or had to show up in court. This is the way of life in Indonesia. This is how the men in Indonesia, also the married men, enjoy their life. Yeah, that's how it goes. But of course, I want to make a very important point here. Not to misunderstand me here. I'm not propagating adultery here. I'm not doing this here. I just share my observations and experience at the time when I was in Indonesia. Because my male employees also, they were bragging about it to me. That's why I know. Yeah? Of course, I have no 100% proof, but I mean, you know, when you deal with these people and you live with them, you work with them, you hang out with them all the time, there's a certain trust, and then they also will tell you certain things, you know. They also came to me and asked me, chef, you need a girl, you know, that kind of stuff. Male talk, you know, locker room talk, so to speak. Yeah, this is what guys, dudes and men are talking a lot about women and stuff, right? So again, I'm not propagating adultery here. Yeah, this is what I have observed. This is how things go and run in Indonesia. These are just men with normal desires like any other man, and you know, some of them, yeah, they have an affair. or maybe many of them, I don't know. And the Indonesian women, they know about this. They know their men, they know how they tick, you know, they know what these Indonesian men are all up to, you know. There are a lot of Indonesian playboys, trust me. There are a lot of Indonesian playboys. And the women don't like it. So again, before I end this video here, keep in mind Indonesia is a Muslim country. I mentioned this already. And yeah, that's it. And yeah, I hope this video was clear enough. Now you know what to do and what not to do. But basically how I interpret the whole thing is that nothing really has changed. Yeah, you just have to use your common sense, you know, and keep things low profile and private. And again, you don't need to reveal your marital status. Therefore, you know, you can engage in dating and also in other relationships. Because if there's no proof that you are married or not, then how to say it? I'm not finding the English word right now, but it's kind of neutralized the whole thing, right? So anyway, the articles are in the description box. Read them for yourself, and then if you have any other questions, then let me know. I try to answer them. And while researching this topic online, I barely found any updated posts or articles. You know, many of these articles are from 2022, when this new amended law, when the information came out that this law will be has been amended and will be implemented in 2025. So you see, there was a lot of brouhaha at the time, and many media, even the BBC, jumped on this bandwagon and made some noise. But now this law has been implemented. Yeah, it's in place, but now you don't see anything. Nobody writes about it. Nobody gets excited about it. So I assume everything is normal. No real big change. The information I gave you is what I found out. I think it's still useful, but in my humble personal experience, again, you will be safe in Indonesia if you just use your common sense and stick to the rules, and you can date and you can have also engage in other things. So with that being said, I'm checking out for the day. Was a little bit a longer video again. I hoped I could make it a little bit shorter, but this information I found very important to share. Thanks for watching. Looking forward to your comments, and then I'm gonna see you in one of my next videos. Take care. Bye bye.